Also, get the game and play along with us.
Get the game and play it. Yes, that's before we start. That's the other thing too. This is not just us sitting and talking about this. We want you guys, our listeners, to play along with us. Today, Tuesday, I actually tweeted out a reminder. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff like that going forward. We want to engage you guys and make sure you guys are playing along with us. Buy the game if you don't have it. If you have a copy on Steam, like me and Ben have, that you just haven't been playing for years, pick it up and start doing it. I've wanted you to play this game for a very long time, so I'm very interested to hear what you think of the opening parts, the opening cinematic, and the early parts pre-basic braining specifically.
Yeah, well, the opening cinematic and all the cutscenes are pretty awesome. I'd say most games I'm not really a fan of cutscenes. You know, I like to get to the gameplay. I'm that kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But these were really entertaining, and you just mentioned the writer, and the writing is really, it's hilarious. I was laughing out loud, and I mean, not a lot of games make me laugh.
Yeah.
And this is it's great. Like there was one in the opening cutscene. The whole game is based around like going into people's minds and reading their minds and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
it takes place at a psychic summer camp. If you guys don't know.
The main character is like floating down and making his entrance, and the psychic people are like, "Yo, we can read his mind. We can get it," but they're failing. And just one of my favorite little jokes was the general character. Yeah. The main character was about to say his name, and he was like, it starts with a D. Like, he was just like, he had to get in his little, like, prediction.
My favorite is when, right before that, when he's, like, trying, and he's like, can't get in! And he's, like, making those, like, really, like, horrible, like over-dramatic, like, I love that character so much.
And then he's like, my name is, and he's like, starts with a D, right? Just desperate to make the connection.
I love
Yeah, the writing is really great. There was one where when I was exploring the campgrounds, this little kid was like talking to squirrels, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, and I just love the entrance of the main character, Raz, right? Yeah, Raz.
Yeah, Raz.
And he's like, "What's up? Got squirrel trouble?" I just love bad puns like that.
I just love the delivery too, where he's like, "I'm not gonna do it. No, I don't care what you say. I'm not going to kill everyone."
Yeah, and the
a joke.
The kids in the camp are all like, they look demented, like some crazy Tim Burton characters, and the art style reminds me of like the James and the Giant Peach movie. And
it is like that. We were discussing that it's a lot like Nightmare Before Christmas, but it is that like very like stop motion animation-y classic, like kind of contorted weird characters, but also kind of whimsical and cutesy.
Yeah. But like the main character has like a really cute boy face, like it's appealing. So it's like, it's not like they couldn't make good looking characters. It's like they wanted to make messed up looking characters.
Yeah, because it's funny too, because like it is almost like a style they would choose in a more like a more low res, like low polygon, like PlayStation 1 game. They might have had to make that choice because they couldn't.
Yeah.
It was funny because this was PS2, Xbox era. Like, they could have done more realistic-looking characters. They were like, nah, let's just make them look like freaks.
Yeah, so...
They even reference that in the opening line, right? They're like, freaks of the world, and, like, they pan to the boy with, like...
Yeah, and the camera focuses on, like, the most freakish one. So, the character design, the art style, all on point for me. I actually... I can't remember the music that much. Some of it was, like, classical, I noticed. Like, they took some classical music, like Mozart or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the music didn't stand out to me. Not that it was bad. But in general, the whole art direction, so good. And what did you think of the controls platforming?
It was interesting because the first time through that I played that bit that I played, it was on PC, and I was playing on an older PC, so the game chugged a little bit, and I was playing keyboard and mouse, so I had some responsiveness issues. The game, I think... the platforming is actually very solid. We were talking about this. The one issue I have is that the camera is a little wonky. It doesn't quite focus. It tries to follow you, but it doesn't do quite a perfect job of following you, and it kind of can make it hard to see. Sometimes you have to really finagle it to see what the next platform is that you're going on, but it's not terrible. Like, I've played platforming games with much worse. I would argue even, like, Ukulele. Like, I don't know if you ever played any of that, but, like...
Not yet.
Based off what I've seen, Ukulele's like camera, for instance, seems like it's fucking horrendous comparatively to this. I don't think it's so bad, but there's just some moments that you have to stop and realign, I think, before you jump.
Yeah, definitely. And when you get the lock on ability, it's a little better, like in
Yes.
Zelda, where you can just do the quick center.
I would always do that too. Yeah, like same thing as Zelda. You can just focus it behind you
And
real
yeah,
fast.
the platforming itself I thought was really smooth, but yeah, the camera is all that gave me trouble as well. But
I know something you were mentioning. Not getting too wrapped up in the mechanics. Again, we do kind of want to go point to point on the story, but you like how much midair control you have.
yeah, like just in any jump, you can turn like it's more like a swivel. Like you're not moving where you're gonna land. It's more moving where you're facing, and I just like that much control in the air.
Yeah,
Like it was like it's as much control as a Mario game, like, but it was different, you know.
it
It
is.
gives you a lot to work with.
It is, and something I was alluding to, I think, a little bit last time, and even in the or earlier in this episode, but also on the last podcast, is that it is very Mario 64 inspired in a lot of ways. Like it does have like a hub world kind of in the camp.
Yeah.
I know that was kind of the next point we're going to talk about. We were already kind of discussing it. The writing and characters are fantastic. One of the cool things about the summer camp scenario is that it makes for a very naturalistic kind of hub world, and it gives you a lot of opportunity to kind of like walk up on this character when he's having this demented conversation with these squirrels who want him to kill everyone, maybe, and or like you get to like interact with the grotesque looking bully or like your love interest. Like there's a lot of opportunity for character development in that, but then there's also a lot of secrets in that, like in a classic Mario sense. Like
It feels more than a hub world. If you're gonna compare it, I'd say it's like a Mario Sunshine. It feels like a big area to explore.
It is like, and more like what it seems like, at least like the levels in Odyssey are going to be like, when it is into it of itself a platforming level while also being like a hub area. Like there's so many secrets, there's so many little things, like especially once you get to the minecart and all that too, and you can go to the different areas. Did you encounter any of the animals in the area or anything like that?
I found the crazy bear behind the lab.
Oh, the psychic bear. Oh,
that killed me.
Oh yeah, that got me too.
But I killed him back.
Psychic bear is fantastic.
So yeah, the first main level was the general guide. He's kind of works as a tutorial level, not like you go into like a basic tutorial before that where they're just like tell you to look with the joystick.
Yep.
But this is more like it teaches the mechanics, and it's a simple level. Like it teaches you tight ropes and like swinging on pegs, and it teaches you about what you can collect.
In general, every part that we played is kind of teaching you a new mechanic. Even the shooting gallery is kind of teaching you the side blast.
Yeah. I think we went up to a good point because it's like just when the game is truly starting, I think.
Yeah.
And
but at the same time, like one of the things that I love about the game then and now is, even though you're playing through it, it's pretty much like, if not a lengthy tutorial section, the game is like kind of holding your hand, and not holding your quote unquote holding your hand at least, and showing you things for a bit. It doesn't feel like it, because again, something about that world and that character, it makes sense that you're this young boy at this summer camp, and it's your counselors who are teaching you these psychic abilities. There's something about that makes sense in the narrative, but also the whimsical world, the characters, and just like the design of the levels and the platforming mass it enough that like you don't really care that you're learning stuff.
Yeah, I totally forgot that I was in a tutorial. It was done pretty well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool how like the first level is like a chaotic war zone, and the game does really well with the theming. I think, at least based on the first two levels. And I think maybe it's on purpose, like to show you, because the first two contrast heavily.
Yes.
Especially the characters and the levels, and it's cool how like each level you're going into a character's mind and exploring their subconscious and conscious, and so it's like the concept goes all the way with making it like what you'd expect. Like the chaotic war general is chaotic, and there's explosions, and you're guiding character through a minefield, and
there's
climbing
also
under missiles.
Yes, climbing under the missiles. There's also a lot of great work setting up one of the cool themes of the game, which is the inner psyche of the characters. Something cool. You know how there's like the figments you collect? Like the way that they change from level to level is actually really interesting in telling of the character's psyche. Definitely pay attention to that.
To what the actual figures are.
Yes, because even just going off of like the first two levels, you can already tell that. Like, you know, Like in the generals, like there are all these people. They're either there's one that looks like it's almost him, and like as like the form of the monster, the first one that you find, which is almost very telling of his potential characterization of himself. And then
And these the figments are kind of like this game's version of coins.
Yes,
They're
yeah,
these like silhouettes of anything really, but it's like they call them figments.
yes.
And yeah,
Hopefully, if you're listening to this and you're playing along, though, you guys know that. But
true that.
one thing cool I noticed is that like there's one is like a bomb, one is like a soldier like who was like climbing up and looks like he's screaming. Like there's something interesting with like hinting at potential backstory for the characters in even those little elements like the figments, and I love that attention to detail because it is almost like Nintendo like there's even if there's more of a narrative bend and focus and like it's very weird and off kilter, I just love that stuff about it. And that opening level basic braining like is so interesting in that like even if it's not the hardest level, like it's so funny how like it's this very dark and grim but also like kind of comically so because like
Yeah.
it has this warped art style and he keeps blowing up all the other students even though you know they're not actually dead, and like you see little pieces of them even though it's like very cartoonish and not at all bloody. And they keep playing around with the idea that like he's supposed to be teaching you how to do this boot camp, but like it's also like a terrible boot camp, like you don't learn anything really. It's just like very chaotic.
Yeah, one part I actually had trouble with was swinging on the pegs. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize you could switch directions.
That one,
So it was tough. Before I figured that out, I was getting pretty frustrated.
it's so funny. I think both times I played the game that has messed me up at first. I think the game just doesn't explain it that great at first, but
It explains it like two like platforms later in the same level. It's
Yeah.
like you could switch with this button, switch directions.
it's
It's
like,
like
yeah,
you should have told me when this came up.
it is weird that after all the times they've released this game too, they never went back and fixed that. But
Maybe it's on purpose for some reason.
maybe it could fit into the level thematically. Getting into, do you want to get into the Sasha 9 section a little bit?
Yeah, so at the end, you get it right at the end of the first level. They give you the button. But yeah, once I got in there, you meet Sasha 9 for the second time.
You do. Great character, like European, like suave spy guy.
Yeah, he's cool. He's cool. He's like I thought he was a professor when I in like the opening cutscene, but you learn that he's more of a scientist.
Yes,
And
he's kind of both. He's kind of everything.
he's kind of both. He's got that style.
Yeah.
Um,
Because the whole idea is like it's a spy organization, and this is their summer camp for future recruits.
mhm.
So they're like scientist spy, like science professors.
And it's always cool. Like he was like, I could do these dangerous tests on you, but I can't actually ask you. But if you show up, that could be cool. So that's another one of those like clever ways to give you the hint.
It's funny too because in the game's lore, like Raz idolizes Sasha 9. He's like this like cult figure kind of, and there's like this element of like he's getting to like do stuff with this guy that like he idolizes, and something cool too that I'm sure comes up in this section, but also earlier in that quick tutorial section before basic braining, where what'd you call him? Ford the carrot nose.
Yeah, I call him Carrot Face because his mustache combined with his nose look exactly like a carrot.
They do. It's really funny. But something really funny, hint that Raz has his own kind of backstory that comes into the later game, very interesting. Or seems like it's being set up to come back into the game.
And yeah, when you start that level, you
Yes.
you go into your own mind.
Yes.
And you see like touchings of your past.
Yes.
And you go into what was it, like a wagon?
Yes. It looks like a circus wagon.
It looks
almost.
like some kind of carriage. And you go in there and then you get trapped in this, like, it looks like TV static is all around you. And then you realize you got to punch out of it. And it turns out you're in an egg, which also has the connection to, like, when you first see the carriage, you're like, oh, this is connected to my birth. And then I noticed, like, you go in there and then you hatch out of an egg.
Yes.
It's kind of like a rebirth moment.
Yes, there's like this rebirth element. Then also it's kind of reflecting the idea of your birth in both senses of you being born as a psychonaut, reborn as a psychonaut, and where you came from, Raz's heritage, which
we don't fully know yet.
It seems like he's some kind of runaway or something like that.
Mm.
There seems to be some element like that at play. We don't want to get into too much, but I'm just looking at the clock right now. But just that level is so cool too.
You run into this demon monster, and then you get taken out by the by Sasha.
Yes, you're right.
And
Yes.
he's like, okay, you need more training. Come into my mind. And then everything's sterile and like he's like even seems pretty empty in here. And he's like, no, I just have control. And it's cool actually. Every little thing about like psychology is worked into a gameplay concept. So like you find these vaults, which is like the secret like subconscious memories you keep locked away, and what were some emotional baggage?
The emotional
That's,
baggage.
like, some of them are more punny than others.
Oh, the emotional. Oh man, it's literally a crying piece of baggage.
It's luggage.
But then you find did you find any of the tags for them?
Yeah.
That scene of like baggage and tag finding each other is like the most heartwarming thing on earth.
It's cool. And then
I wish real emotional baggage could just go away that quickly, right?
Yeah, I wish. So then it gets to the point you were saying where it's basically teaches you the mechanic of your shooting ability, and you start murdering these little.
Yes.
What are they? They're like little magnifying glass men.
They're like weird little creatures.
Just little monsters.
I think they're kind of more representations of like Sasha's ordered existence. And then there's this thing where you can kind of up the threat level, and your character keeps being like, oh, it's not high enough, it's not fast enough, because he's very impatient. He wants to be a psychonaut. So like, even though it's a training session, like they're bringing the narrative back in, and they're kind of playing with like the dichotomy of like a normal training session.
Well, it is cool though. As a player, you can make that choice to hit it just all the way up at once, or like see how far you can go in each difficulty.
It does, yes. But then also, eventually, from a narrative standpoint, it does want you to get there, because when you do that, that's when things get out of control, and then you have to reorder his mind.
Yeah.
Which then leads into the boss fight too.
Yeah. Then it turns into this bigger level where you're shooting down the what did they call them? It was another link to like a psychology thing.
It's not the mental cobwebs. That's
the targets.
I know what you're talking about. Not the figments. It's the.
The concept was that he told you like you have to get control over my mind again. So you're shooting these targets that take control, and then you shoot every target. And he's like, "Oh wait, you weren't supposed to shoot every target, because that's like taking all your emotions and thoughts and pushing." Was it
it or whatever, or ego?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But the concept was just that if you suppress everything.
Oh, was it like suppressive emotions or something?
Yeah. If you suppress everything, you'll explode, and that was the idea behind the boss.
Yes, that's right.
That was you hid everything away, and then it came out as a giant monster.
Yes, it turns into one big giant. Same thing that like when you get rid of everything and you just repress everything, it can kind of come back and be really ugly.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how far they go with all these like psychology ideas. It's pretty cool.
I'm willing to bet that it goes a lot deeper, but that was a great boss fight. It was, I mean, in some ways, yes, kind of like a standard boss fight, but I enjoyed it. I thought there were some clever aspects to it.
Yeah. And I had some difficulty actually just learning the mechanics. Like, it's one of those things where once I realized that I just had to dodge, I just learned the dodging mechanic basically. And it is part of like the tutorial boss.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. Like I usually am against all tutorials, but this time it seemed to teach me when I didn't know.
No, the tutorials are good, and like I said, they do a good job of making them make sense. Even that boss itself has a tutorial aspect to it, and it's a great game. I'm enjoying it. I'm happy to play it again, and
to tie it to the beginning of our episode, the actual level, you're on a giant cube.
Yes.
But you can run all the way around it just like Mario Galaxy.
Yes, and that's a cool thing too about that level aesthetically, is that it does kind of show that ordered existence of this very in control person. His mind is literally just one cube floating in space. And
you can even play with the gravity just like in Galaxy. Like if you do a double jump off the corner, you float way up.
Oh, yes.
It's cool to play with those physics a bit.
There's a couple other sections in the game, like when you go into the classroom and stuff, right? You can like, there's some other areas in the game. Maybe you haven't found them yet. You can do that kind of thing, and you can kind of like gravity changes from room to room.
Interesting.
In the camp. On that note, though, I think we've touched on pretty much everything. Good first episode of the Game Club. Another great episode in the bag, Ben.
Well, wait. I just want to see. So for next week, if you're following along, we're gonna do the next 2 levels. So we're gonna play up to and finish the underwater level.
Yes. So after the underwater level, once again, just stop, come back, and we'll have a nice conversation about what we played. But hey, great first episode of the Game Club, guys. Thank you for playing along with us. We love having you.
There's a bee.
That bee didn't die. Unlike all the bees of the film, The Happening.
I'm telling you, that movie's about bees dying.
It's not what
The
that is.
Happening.
That is
all
not.
the bees die.
That is not what The Happening is about. Maybe bees dying it, Ben, but I